My fiancé helped her sister hide an affair from her husband, so I called off the wedding. But she refused to accept my decision and finally revealed her darkest secret. So yesterday, I overheard a call between my fiancée Sarah and my brother-in-law Marty, which signaled to me that in all likelihood, Sarah was helping her sister Evelyn hide an affair from Marty. I really tried to ignore what I heard and pass it off as coincidence, but I simply couldn't. That night, I couldn't resist the urge to check Sarah's phone. I grabbed the phone, retreated to the bathroom, and unlocked it. That's when I saw Sarah's sister Evelyn has been having an affair for about 6 months with a coworker, and Sarah has been helping Evelyn cover it up for almost that entire time. There are literally hundreds of texts between them, discussing it, discussing the coworker, discussing intimate stuff, mentioning really embarrassing things about my brother-in-law, like comparing his PP size, just stuff that makes my stomach churn, and here is my soon-to-be wife going along with all of it, without batting an eye. I took some screenshots of the entire thread, put the phone back where I found it. The next day, I decided to take the day off work and go to Marty's house to let him know. I got to Marty's house a little after 10 a.m. He had just put his daughter down for a nap, and we had a long, frankly brutal talk in the kitchen. Basically, he suspected this for a couple of months now, but Evelyn has been very good at covering her tracks, obviously with the assistance of Sarah and a couple of their mutual friends. I unfortunately do not have all 6 months of text messages, just a couple of dozen screenshots I sent to myself from Sarah's phone, but I gave him what I have and offered to help him however I could. I am a field analysis in the SIU department of a mid-sized insurer specializing in workers' compensation fraud, so I know a few things and a few people. I'm going to have to talk to Sarah this evening and get the word out as fast as I can to my friends and family now that I know I won't screw Marty over. Update 1. Marty asked for my help in finding out who the other guy was that Evelyn was cheating on him with. The first thing I did was not some major amount of sleuthing, it was basically just going through LinkedIn trying to find the guy through Evelyn's connections, but that brought up nothing, which I thought was strange. Marty had told me that Evelyn was supposed to go out for drinks tonight after work, and that she said she wouldn't be home until around 10. He didn't have to tell me what he suspected since I pretty much understood right away. I told him that I would help him, but he needed to come with me. I then contacted my buddy Mark, explained the situation to him, and had him agree to meet us later in the day. The first thing we did was drive over to Marty's parents' house so that they could watch their granddaughter. I don't know what Marty told them as I waited in the car. After that, we went to Evelyn's place of work. We drove around until we found Evelyn's car, and then I had Marty unlock it with the second set of keys. I then gave Marty a voice-activated recorder and a GPS tracker to place in the car. Once done with that, we left, parked a bit down the street, and waited for my friend to arrive, and for Evelyn to leave the business. My friend Mark shows up about 20 minutes later, hops in the car with us, and around an hour after that, Evelyn comes out of her office with 2 of her girlfriends and a tall, younger-looking man with sandy blonde hair. They are obviously holding hands, and I'm like, damn, Evelyn, you're making it easy for me. I take a couple of pictures from the car, and then wait for Evelyn to leave in hers, and I start tracking her. At first, I thought she might go right to a hotel or something, but she didn't. Instead, she drove to a reasonably nice bar and grill in a nice section of town, and parked on the street. I drove by her as she was getting out of her car and entering the establishment, and then found my own parking spot and went over the plan. First, we sent Mark in, since no one knew him. He had basically 2 jobs. First, try to get any compromising pictures he could of Evelyn and Jake, and second, to be my alibi. Marty and I waited in the car for around 20 minutes, until I got the first in the series of text messages from Mark. They were pictures of Evelyn and Jake, making out in front of their 2 female co-workers. Marty's suspicions were right. They were helping Evelyn hide the affair from him. He was obviously very upset and angry. Evidently one of the co-workers is married, and as a couple they are good friends with Marty and Evelyn. I ask Marty if that's enough for him, but he says he still really wants to know who this guy is. I try to tell him that we can find out later, but he's practically begging me at this point. So I tell him to wait, text Mark that I'm coming in, and then enter the bar myself. First thing I see is Evelyn and her crew laughing and drinking at one of those tall round tables near the front window as I enter. I stop for a moment, pretend to be surprised, and then call out to Evelyn. Evelyn, hi, what are you doing here? She's obviously shocked to see me, and everyone around her tenses up immediately. Evelyn quickly introduces me as her sister's fiancé and says that we are getting married in 2 weeks. There are a lot of congratulations from everyone. I thank them, and then stick out my hand to the blonde guy and introduce myself with my full name, hoping that he'll respond in kind, and he does. I introduce myself to everyone else, and then tell Evelyn that I'm here to meet a coworker. I wave to Mark, and then excuse myself. Once I get over to Mark, I tell him the guy's name, and we both whip out our phones and go to work. It doesn't take long for us to find him. He's got social media profiles and a couple of court case judgments against him. Turns out that Jake, the guy Evelyn is cheating with, is 26 and married. This just keeps getting better. I text Marty the guy's name, and I decide I want to push my luck and tell him to wait a few more minutes. Basically, I'm playing babysitter here at the bar. I'm totally visible to Evelyn and her crew. I can see out of the corner corner of my eye that no one is particularly happy about this, and my presence is really ruining the night. This is good. I let this go on for about 10 minutes, and then tell Marty to text Evelyn that he's spending the night at his parents' house with their daughter. It doesn't take long after that, until I catch Evelyn taking out her phone, showing it to Jake, and then everyone deciding to pack up. Evelyn comes over to me, says goodnight, and asks me if Sarah and I want to come over for dinner this weekend. I smile, and say that sounds like a great idea, and wish her and her co-workers a good night. Mark and I wait for them to leave, then pay our bill, and hurry back to the waiting Marty. There's a bit of hesitation here, because we don't know exactly what Evelyn was going to do. Like I half assumed she might have already booked a hotel room and was heading there, which would have made everything a lot more complicated and limited what I could do, but it turns out that tonight was probably meant to be just drinks at the bar, and it wasn't until Marty decided to spend the night at his parents' that it turned into something more. Evelyn made a beeline for home, and we followed behind her way out of sight and parked down the street. It didn't take long after that, until another car pulled into Marty's driveway, and we saw Jake get out, go up to the door, knock, and be greeted by Evelyn. They went inside together. Now, at this point, it's about 7:30, and I have my own stuff to do tonight, and I think that I've done pretty much all I can do for Marty, and he can handle the rest himself. Update 2. I walked into my house to cancel the wedding, and saw Evelyn crying on the couch with Sarah. I froze for a moment and almost turned around and left. Still, I entered the room. Both Sarah and Evelyn looked up at me in acknowledgement, but the tirade of accusations never came. I just stared back, raising my eyes in question. The moment passed, and Evelyn went back to crying, Sarah back to comforting, and I let it awkwardly hang in the air for half a minute while I thought. It seemed that Marty hadn't mentioned my assistance in the uncovering of Evelyn's affair. I decided to play dumb, not for any reason other than I wanted to see how Sarah reacted. I took a seat on a recliner, and then asked them, "What's going on?" Evelyn just continued to cry, but Sarah looked at me and said, "Marty is divorcing Evie." Well, yes, I figured as much. I decided to push ahead with the obvious question. "What for?" I asked her. Sarah stopped patting Evelyn's back for a moment and looked at me. I could almost see her face twist and contort. Evelyn shot Sarah a look that I didn't need to be a sister to understand, and there was a pause until Sarah finally said, "She cheated on him." Now, I have to admit, this response freaking floored me. This was absolutely not what I was expecting. Evelyn wasn't happy about this. She kind of crumpled into the couch a bit and did this strange combination of a sigh and sob at the same time. I wanted to press on, go for the gold, to sort of speak, but I must have stammered a bit. Sarah probably interpreted it as shock, and well, she would have been right in a sense, just not how she assumed. "Did you know?" Sarah didn't say anything. She just nodded, her hand still rubbing her sister's shoulder. I didn't hesitate, and asked for the obvious follow-up. "How long?" The answer came back a lot easier than I thought it would. 6 months. I was shocked by how easily she admitted to it. Evelyn was shocked as well. She smacked her sister's hand off her, and I think even Sarah was a little shocked at saying it out loud. I leaned back in the recliner and rubbed my face. Time to tug the rest of that band-aid clear off. "We're not getting married." There were two that looked like stunned goats, and a chorus of, "Huh? What?" from both sisters. I stood up and repeated myself. "We're not getting married. I can't marry someone who would cover up adultery, especially not for 6 months. Sarah sprang off the couch and opened her arms. The body language was, "You can't be serious?" But I just put my hands in front of myself. "I'm serious. I don't like this. Not one bit. I don't like that you took part in this, and I can't get married to you with how I feel. It would be a mistake." The waterworks started immediately, and even Evelyn did that thing with her mouth that looks like a perch trying to suck air. There were wails from Sarah, accusations of not loving her, appeals to my sense of duty, to the loss of money, the inconvenience to all our friends, the embarrassment of it all. It was frankly nothing I hadn't already thought about, but it definitely felt different hearing Sarah say it through body-racking sobs. It was at this point I probably made a big mistake. In an effort to convince Sarah of the finality of it all, I said, "Look, I already